Ons het ons paneel daar so nou regtig uitgemergel. Baie dankie vir julle geduld. Ons sien uit na wat julle vir ons gaan bied. En ek vra net dat hulle die bekendstellingsvideo net gou inspeel asseblief, Brain Republic.
The producer panel members are André Brink, the 2022 Grain Producer of the Year winner, focusing on winter cereals. R.C. van Wyk, the 2017 Grain Producer of the Year winner, focusing on summer grains. Giovanni Parzianello, agronomist and farmer director at GMP Agro, Brazil. Corné Louw, applied economics team lead for Grain SA, is the panel facilitator.
Baie dankie, oor na jou Corné. Over to you.
Thanks, Chairperson. Sorry about my back, but I have to look at the panel members.
Corné, they tell me the back end of a donkey is the best end.
So, Chairperson, this is known as the graveyard session, but I think really it is the graveyard session. If you don't listen, your business might end up in the graveyard. So, please listen up. This is going to be exciting. We have some of the grain farmers of the year on the panel. We have Giovanni from Brazil here, and they're going to tell us how did they get their business to go through high-risk situations. So just to remind you, the Congress theme is agility within a high-risk and uncertain environment. And this panel will focus on lessons that we learn from each other. Farmers like us, what did we do to overcome high-risk situations? Just maybe to start off with a graph, I could have drawn lots of different economic indicators here, but this is just an example of inflation. I could have drawn the crude oil price or the fertilizer price or the gas price. The trend is similar, but these peaks is something we have to bear with as farmers or as business people. And I think Roland also explained it really well. In agriculture, we used to seasonality, we used to droughts, especially Giovanni in South Africa, but some of that you can predict and prepare for. The past few years, we've seen what we call black swan events. That's stuff you can't really plan for. So this is high risk. Farmers and farming is already high risk enough, and now we've got external factors to deal with. And we had in 2020 the COVID wave. We had the Russian-Ukraine war to make it even worse. We haven't overcome COVID or the war yet, and now there's fears of recessions. Everyone's talking about recession. So how are we going to handle this? Luckily, I've got the experts here. We've got Asia from Bultfontein for summer crops, and we've got Andre from the Western Cape. That's last year's grain farmer winner, and obviously Giovanni from Brazil. So, Asia, maybe we can start with you. What have you learned from your business or your farming operation? What helped you to shock absorb, if I can use that word, to get through this difficult, risky situations?
Dankie Corné en goeiemôre almal. Verskoon dat ek 'n bietjie van die notas af is vanmiddag. Ek's net bang ek glip met die Engels. En as die Swazier manne nie my Engels optel nie, vra my net daar vir die translation. So from experience and observation of many successes and failures, I would like to highlight only 4 points this afternoon. Firstly, learn from the past. Second, manage a risk profile. Number 3, develop the ability to adapt. And number 4, a safety margin. So let's run through this really quickly. Learn from the past. Be analytical and focus on true data. This is not popular data. There's sometimes a big difference between the two. So let's take a simple example of average maize yield over the long term. Now, on our farm, we have 4 different individual grain producing units. And for the whole farm, our 10-year average, or the so-called long-term average for maize in our area on our farm, is 6.3 tons. Now, if you look at the different units, from season to season, it varies from 3.3 tons till 9.5 tons. So you already see that it is a really volatile game that we're in. So in a typical volatile industry like producing grain in a country like South Africa, if you analyze 10 years, you will typically have 2 bad ones, 2 very good ones, and maybe the other 6 will be around the average. But the average is still 6.3. Now, the data also shows that when we are done planting, let's say at 10 December, if you look back at those 10 years, we have no idea at that stage, at 10 December, if we will end at a 3.5 or at a 9.5. It's mostly out of our hands. But the average is still 6.3 over 10 years. So, another interesting fact from the data, if we look back 20 years, then on our farm, the first 10 years actually outperformed the second 10 years. It's against popular belief, isn't it? With better genetics, better high precision technology, precision farming, etc., that made huge leaps forward over the last 10 years, we still outperform the last 10 with the first 10. And it's just because of very unstable climate. Furthermore, it's easy for us as grain farmers to focus on the good years. We love to linger on the 10-ton farms, but we try to forget the 3 or 4 tons as quickly as possible, isn't it? Now, if you really look at the 10-year data, you will see the 4-ton year. And you can ask many questions, and you can learn a lot from that. What happened there? Could it have been managed better? What were the lessons to be learned? So, to conclude this one, if you follow popular opinion and you're on water table soils, you will be tempted to go for 8 tons per hectare every year. But from the data, as long as you're on a 6.3 average, you will overshoot and your cost structure will be inefficient. On the other hand, if you're over-conservative and you go for 5.5 to over-manage your risks, actually, it's obvious that you will let a lot of potential go to waste. So this is just a simple example, but my point is to try and prove that you can learn a lot from history, and especially when you get it from verified, accurate data. Second point is manage a risk profile. I think you should choose a risk profile that suits the stage of your career and your specific circumstances, and maybe most of all, your personality. It doesn't pay to follow a risk profile for someone else's personality. If you succeed in managing a risk profile for yourself like this, it obviously leads to less stress, and it will make you at your sharpest, especially if you have to take tough decisions in really challenging times. The third point is to develop the ability to adapt. Now, we can say over the long term, there's maybe a good example will be the appearance of soyas in the Western interior, like Joseph du Plessis' 15-year timeline this morning. That's a textbook example. Or look at Argentina, where soya totally changed the landscape over the last 25 years. That's typical long-term trends that we adapt to. Over the medium term, we can adapt to farming practices or cultivations leading to better fuel economy, sustainability, etc. And over the short term, maybe that's fresh in our minds, we can look at the way we adapt to a specific planting season that turns out totally different from what we have planned. And those actions and plans are sometimes implemented in a matter of weeks or even days or hours. And it's also important, of course, that you must have a good theory or plan in these cases. But it is equally important that that plan is efficiently and effectively and on time or timely executed, and that all brings you to a good ability to adapt. I can go on and mention quite a lot of examples. We've over the past 2 years with the excessive moisture conditions, we planted 200% of our planned wheat acreage because of the double cropping practice we did after the maize combine. That's what Giovanni are used to. And but it was a quick decision. We focused on it. We modified implements in a matter of a week or two, but we showed the results and we turned the moisture problem into grain. And we came really well through that one. There's a lot of other things which we've changed from Eskom to solar, and we can go on and on. The fourth point is to create and maintain a safe margin for error. Now, farmers typically are great entrepreneurs. We've discussed that this morning. We just love to go after the next opportunity. But sometimes we're not so great at clinical management, and that is the very thing that keeps us from maintaining this margin for error. If you have a good margin for error, it can obviously be a lifeline when disaster suddenly strikes. And over the long term, if you have the discipline in maintaining that margin for error, it does have the potential to turn you into a buyer when everyone is selling. So to conclude, all these points are interconnected. You can't really stress one without focusing on the other one. And it all comes down basically to knowing your numbers. It's hard to do these assessments and it's really hard to make these plans and do accurate assessments if you don't have a good set of data and numbers that's reliable and that you can work with.
Also, great. Yes, thank you for that. That's really great learnings and wisdom. We've had the local guy now the two farmers that flown in. The Western Cape is almost like a country on its own here in South Africa, Giovanni. But let's start with Giovanni first. Giovanni, welcome to South Africa. Maybe you can quickly introduce yourself to the Congress.
Sure. So everybody's hearing me. So I would like to introduce myself. My name is Giovanni. I'm from Brazil. So I work for a family business company. So we farm in Brazil in a middle state, and we have a farm there of 11,000 hectares, and we have another one up north in Brazil, about 16,000 hectares. So we plant about 27 hectares of soybean, and we do plant about 20,000 hectares of corn. So you guys are probably asking, how do you do that if you have 27 hectares of physical land? Yeah, we double crop. So I guess we are lucky to be doing that, but there's a lot of challenges on doing that. So I'm gonna briefly explain how farming in Brazil works. So we do have a stable rain. I could say that, but we do have short windows of planting. Since we are doing double crop, we do need to be fast. So we gotta be efficient, and so briefly to understand. So we usually begin to plant by September, and we go all the way to October. And so our soybean takes about 100 days to be ready to be harvested. Different than you guys. I heard you guys take about like 150, 140 days. Ours get earlier. And right after, so the combine is literally harvesting, and our planter is following the combine to be as efficient as we can. And so that's the picture of how we work in Brazil. And the rain starts by September-ish and goes all the way to April. So we would have the corn established by January and February. So the rain needs to be available for us until April. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to produce. So that's one of the risks of our business. We do need to be inside of that window, the planting window. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to plant. Like you guys sometimes struggle with rain, and we do struggle with rain on our second crop. So I can point out some of the challenges that we have there too. As I mentioned, the rain situation for the second crop, and we do have a lot of high pressure of pests and fungi. We do about in soybean we do about like 5 applications for fungicides, so it's quite a lot. And for corn we do about 3. For pest management, that's another thing too. We do have many type of worms. I think the one that you guys had to do here the most is the bullworm. We do have a lot on others ones. So like Spodoptera, I don't know if you guys heard about it. So we got to deal with that too. And we get to spend a lot of money on that too. So another struggle that we have in Brazil. From what I heard so far, government is not a friend of you guys. They don't help us. They don't help you guys at all. So we have the same thing in Brazil. We are all by our own. So we literally do everything by our own. So that's another problem too. Labor is a problem too. We do have labor available, but quality becomes a problem. So I can go on and on. It sounds like we have a lot of similarities, right? Yeah. Okay. And I mean I can go with the answers.
Have you got Sclerotinia there in Brazil?
Say it again.
Sclerotinia.
What does that stand for? Safrinha.
No, Sclerotinia.
Sclerotina. Yeah. No. So that usually is located in south of Brazil, which has cold, I would say colder weather there. So we deal with Diplodia in corn, anthracnose in soybean, and Cercospora too. The reason why we have 5 fungicide on 5 application of fungicide in our crop, and that's quite expensive, I would say so. Yeah. And how do we manage all those risks? As I mentioned, only a few of them, but mostly. Let's start with the government part. All right. So we lack of roads. We don't have railroads at all. So what we do on that matter? So we invest a lot of our money in infrastructure, and that goes for machineries and silos. So all of our farms has its own silo in order to protect and storage our crop. And being able to sell it and on the right time. And what we do usually, we sell to the big companies as you guys, and we do FOB, so they go there and take it. So we don't care if it's their matter, right? So our crop is on our silos. So from the silos to whatever they are sending the soybeans, not our matter. So that's managing one of the risks that we struggle there. Machineries. Always try. I don't tell people to buy new machineries. Of course, if you have money to buy it, go for it. But try to have the maintenance of it always always on time. So, like planning yourself. So let's say you already know what you're gonna be doing for the year. So plan yourself. You know, have the right machinery for the right task. Don't buy. Big doesn't mean efficient. You know, like the biggest tractor, the biggest planter. It doesn't mean you gotta be efficient with that. Understand your demand, you know, understand your farm. We do have big equipments, but more because of like it fits on our farm, you know. We have similar landscape as you guys here, really flat. You cannot see the end, so it's flat as you guys here. But our soils are clay. They have a highest clay percentage, and that's one of the way to mitigate the risk too. Another thing, go with trustworthy suppliers. We had COVID last year, not 2 years ago. And you guys, I don't know how it was here, but we had to deal with a lot of problem of companies not sending the product that we bought from them. And when we are a farmer, we had to have the products on the right time. You know how it is. When you have oppression of a bullworm or a fungus or whatever, You need to have the product on the right time to deal with that. So work with well-known companies. I don't need to mention the companies here. You guys know the well-known companies. It's worth it to work with them. It's worth it. Share the risk with them. Bring them to your business. You know, bring them, show them how your business works. You know, they're going to be concerned because they want to be part of that. So it's one thing that we always try to get to those companies, you know, to have the product on the right time, get them together with us, you know, share our problems, and they're gonna find the solution. It's all about that. It's a collaboration between us and them, and then goes between us and goes on from that. Another thing, I think I'm losing my time there, but if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna keep going, all right? So, technology, right? So in Brazil, that's another struggle too. So we, from what I saw here, you guys get to have data, internet all over, right? In Brazil, we don't have it, honestly. So we do have offices in our farm, which has a Wi-Fi, but besides that, we don't have connection. So work
Sounds
with,
like
yes.
South Africa.
Yeah, but like I went to a couple farms here, and all of them had internet, so. I think they're the lucky ones then. All right, so yeah, so you guys know what I'm talking, right?
Yeah.
So you have a lot of like application or whatever softwares available to use on that matter, but you do need connection. Otherwise, what's the point of it, right? So go for that, you know. Try. We do have a lot of companies that's doing that business now, and we do have companies coming to do that business too. An example is from Elon Musk, the Starlink. It's already available in Brazil. So you can literally like take the internet and put it like in any place that you want. So we are doing that in our properties too. So we want connection. Connection is necessary because you can get to see whatever is happening on that right time, you know. Another thing that you guys deal with too. So invest in your labor. Labor is the key of our business. We had a discussion with, I forgot the name of the mister that was presenting. So, but he was right on most of what he said. So labor is literally the key of our business. We need them. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to deal with all the tasks that we have in our farm. Imagine myself with the land that we have, I love to be in a combine. That's the thing that I love the most, honestly. Be inside of a combine, listen to country music. What else do you need? Right? But I can do that because people need me outside of the combine. People need me to guide them, to show them where to go, what to do. And when you have a position like that as a leader, you do need to be prepared for that, right? And so how do you prepare this labor? You know, show them the new perspectives. Make them part of the business. You know, train them, make them capable to fulfill their tasks. You know, and how to accomplish that? It's not easy as it sounds. You know, you guys know. Sometimes you're paying a wage, and your neighbor goes there and pay a little bit more, and there you go, you lose your employees. But you know, it's more about only money. You need to bring them to your business, make them part of your business. You know, and it doesn't matter the way you do, make them part. When you plan your crop, your season, bring them with you, show them. Oh, I'm gonna be doing this, and this. And they're gonna feel they are part of that. You know, they're more than only a piece on your farm. You know, they're part of the farm. You need him, you need them. So that's what we do in Brazil too. And again, we do have a lot of struggles as you guys.
Yeah.
And if I keep talking here, we'll be talking to you tomorrow. Yeah. All right. But whenever questions you guys have, go for it. I'm gonna be answering.
Great.
I want to thank you the opportunity from Grain SA to be here, from Bayer too. It's such a great opportunity to get to know you guys, and of course, like from what I saw so far, what you guys been doing with sandy soil, it's incredible. Like the capability of you guys producing and achieving high yields like you guys are doing, it's amazing. We don't have that type of thing in Brazil. And I'm going to be testing out some of the technologies and the work that you guys do here. And I'm most certain that I'm going to be achieving as much yield as you guys, because you guys already know like how to work in sandy soils. And we gotta learn from each other, right? It's all about that, right? And yeah, I guess I went too far, but
Giovanni, thank you so much for that insights. Let's give him a hand. Thank you so much. As you said, we can talk about this the whole day. When we prepared, we said we could actually spend 2 days on this, because I mean, this is farming, and we can learn from each other. It's great, Giovanni, although it's problems, to be able to hear you've got the same problems as us. It makes us feel better.
Right.
Andre, we've got Andre Brink. Andre, we've heard from 2 of the panelists. What can you share with the fellow farmers? What have you seen over the past have helped you in your business to overcome high-risk situations?
Corné, thank you very much. I think with the 2 guest speakers here, I don't have to say anything. You know already everything. Coming back to our farming entity, and the question you asked me before to prepare for, our farming entity is 125 years in the family. So risk has been over families been addressed, and short-term risk or short risk like what's happening now with the Ukraine, and perhaps it did happen in this 125 years ago. So I thought of sharing our family story up to now and what I did to mitigate through troubled times. Our farm is in the Western Cape. We're about 35 kilometers from Cape Town. I farm with my 2 sons. They joined the farm about 5 years ago. Typical Western Cape, dependent on winter rain, and we have to make do with certain aspects. And I like to divide if I look back to my business, I see a table in front of me with 4 legs. The legs don't have to be the same in strength, but they are there to keep the table to be a table. And I divided the 4 legs into categories that you can change, and categories that you maybe can change, and categories that you address to come to survive you at the end of the day. So the 4 legs of this table, the first one is the one I can do nothing about. Not nothing, but how to mitigate, to correct myself in my farming entity with it. And that is where I farm. It's the climate. It's the amount of rain that I get. If it's too little, the spread of rain, I've got no say in that. The other leg, the thing within that leg is politics. I don't think we as farmers can actually change politics in our system. So how to go forward with that in mind. The second leg is my costing items. I think there's 5 that I want to share with. The one is seed cost, fertilizer cost, fuel, and chemical cost, and labor or people that you work with. I did make a rough sum. If I negotiate better than my neighbor, or I buy in bulk, I think that cost leg will probably save me not more than 5%, actually between 2 and 3%. So I had to use other methods to get that cost down. The only real method to get that cost down is use less of that 5 items. The other leg of the table is the operation entity on your farm. You have to make do within your boundaries of your farm where you are. You can farm and wish to farm like your neighbor, but the soils and what you have on your farm is what you have, and you have to make do with that. And on that leg, I will elaborate on how I did certain things to get my costs down. And the last one is family. And I think the continuity of family business, I don't know if I must put that in front or last, but I come to that because that form a big part of where we are now with my business. So coming back to the farming leg of it, I started off after my father died in 1996, and we were working fields, plowing them, deep methods of working it, probably go over the field 3 to 4 times, and we were limited with that about the hectares we can do to have that optimal seeding time. So I slowly move away from that towards a lighter tillage and close the seed up. But suddenly then the weeds came in, and I went into a rotation crop. So when I did go into rotation crop, suddenly it ticks of our cost came down of that cost leg. We did less fuel, less labor, we did less hectares, and all of that things suddenly came down. And with that rotation crop, we had managed our weeds, and we had to use different chemicals so that we can use the resistant side of it. But going forward to that, so slowly we worked on that and used technology. We did precision sampling of soil so that we can utilize our lime and our different chemical fertilizer better to that, and that's a big advantage that we use actually the same, but it's more specified, and our yield did get better because the rotation crop we put in medics and clovers, and we did get a better yield. But to utilize all that rotation crop side when we don't plant wheat or canola or whatever, we imported cattle and sheep, and that gave us a little bit soften the blow to mitigate the sides that we can't control our weather in drought, and if it's more rain, less rain. And another thing we did is we opened up we did a open contour system to get in the winter when we get soils where it's too wet, we get some drainage in it, and that also helped at the end of the day to use our planters better, because we go bigger and then we take out the old contour system and we get more effective to operate at the end of the day, to utilize that cost items all the way down, the fuel, the cost of labor and everything like that. So that is a part of the table, that to keep that table level, that leg that we slowly do things, but it automatically helps with other things. But the most important thing for me as a family business side of it is my family came 120 years ago, and with every generation passing, it's a stop-start business from generations back. When my grandfather died, they stopped, they must share, they half the farm. They normally have to divide income between all the children. And the same with me. I have to start from beginning when my dad died. I said to me, that is one of the risks of farming. If we grow and grow and grow, and after I died, we have to share everything. And so we moved into the idea of it's our farm. The whole family has a part in it, and we begin the cake at the end of the day. So if we but we share the wealth of the entity. And our biggest threat is the stop-start now with our farming entities. So I try to, with my 2 sons, that we have a continuation of our business of a not stop-start method. Thank you.
Andre, thanks. Thank you. Thank you so much, Andre, for that sharing that experience. I think immediately the one golden thread I do see is family business, learning from generations going onwards. If it's a stop-start, it's not a family and a generational growing business. So I think that's one very important thing I've picked up to mitigate that risk. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open the panel with all of you on the floor here. So you can either ask a question to the panel members, or you can contribute to share with us, to the fellow farmers, what have you learned on your farming operation. Thanks, Joseph. Can we... yes.
Can we ask Giovanni, what on earth is wrong with Brazilian soccer?
That's a low blow.
Any other less sensitive questions?
That's not on me. That's not on me.
Yes, Richard?
Giovanni mentioned that his soya is 100 days in the ground. How many days to flowering? And then he mentioned 5 fungicide applications. At what stage is the first application, and what stage in the interperiod? I'm not a soya farmer, but I find that information that he shared fascinating and would like to know more. Thanks.
Right. So in soybean, we usually begin about 25 days after emerging. So, and 15 days from the first time. So 25, 40, and that go on. So on corn, about V6, I think the same as you guys, 6 leaves, and 15 days each. So that's how we do. Yeah. Yeah. Some people in Brazil are doing even like earlier applications. Like they are doing shorter gap, like 12 days.
Yeah. What would the typical active ingredients be of those sprays? Do you limit it to one of the groups? Are you using SDHIs, or what is it that you're applying then? Thanks.
Oh, so most of them we work with triazole. So you can get from many products that you guys probably have available here. So on soybean, we usually work with, so it's a triazole called proticonazole. I don't know if you guys heard about it. So yeah, most of the applications are with that. And for corn, we do work with triazoles too, usually with the buconazole. You can find that in many products available. And along with, I don't know if I'm going to be able to translate that. We call it carbendazole. Yeah, we usually use that for diplodia. I heard you guys deal with that here too. So we do have that available until yesterday, I would say, because our government, as I mentioned before, they don't help us at all. So they block the use of it. Don't ask me why. So I don't know how we're going to be dealing with diplodia for the next year, to be honest. And we do have some products available, like thiofanato methylic. I guess that's how you guys call it, thiofanato methylic. No? Yeah, so, yeah.
Great. Thanks, Richard, for that question.
Any other questions from Congress floor? Allow me to summarize, and first of all, to thank all the panel members. Right now, I think we need to specifically thank Arsia, since he's come to spend his birthday with us. So happy birthday, Arsia. So I've had the privilege of being part of what they call the Global Farmer Network. So you have exposure to farmers from all over the world, and it's always exciting to me to see the level of commonality. Our problems are so the same, no matter where you come from in the world. If you're a farmer, you've got labor issues. If you're a farmer, you've got fertilizer cost issues. If you're a farmer, you've got chemical issues. You've got diseases. So it's so much the same. And I think that's what makes up the characteristics of a farmer or a good farmer is the tenacity and the ability to apply your mind to rise above these issues and find the solutions. And I want to thank this panel really, for sharing with us, for giving our whole Congress something to take home, something that they can actually go and apply. Maybe it's the next drought that's coming down the line, whether it's 2 or 3 years from now. Just that, you know, they heard RCA telling us how to manage your risk, or to have a risk margin management in there, and you apply that on your farm. That's what the value of a Congress like this is. So thank you very much for your contribution, Giovanni, all the way from Brazil. Yeah, absolutely. You know, we look up to the Brazilian farmers just purely by virtue of the size of agriculture in Brazil. And I had the privilege of chatting to you last night, and the excitement with which Giovanni shared with me the benefits of Intacta that's coming in our soybean industry next year. That really makes me excited. So I'm ready to take on anybody that has a sector question for us today, and the sector levy questions, because if that's what's coming downstream, then we have absolutely no reason to worry. Then we will get value for money for what we are doing in our industry. So to the panel members, to Corné, the way you managed it, thank you very much. We appreciate it, and have a great, enjoy the rest of the Congress with us. We look forward to chatting to you. Thank you very much.
Well done. Thanks. Thank you.